Hi. Okay, this is probably going to come off. Actually, you know what? I don't care if it comes off as a sad, pathetic, whatever story. I'm not really going to focus and obsess over how it comes across. If someone out there is able to hear where I'm coming from, gain some peace of, knowing that you're not the only one going through this, that other people feel a similar way, I don't know. The point is, I've been dealing with some issues, physical issues, ever since I got rear-ended back in 2018, if you can believe that. And I've done, a myriad of jobs. I've worked in food service, I've worked in public education, and around the time where I was still, running food and the like, I remember noticing a huge decline in my ability to walk around with the same, speed, confidence. I mean, physically. I'm not talking emotional yet. No. But I went from being one of the fastest food runners to, oh God, I'm suddenly feeling numbness in my feet and, back, neck pain, of course. I had a lot of that. But I thought, okay, everyone feels like neck and back pain after they get, in a car accident. You just go to physical therapy and everything's good, right? They offered me the shot or whatever to, get rid of pain, and I said no, because that sounds scary and I don't want to numb myself. I'd like to, heal. And I remember, another big thing was vertigo. I was, fast forward to working in the school system, decorating a classroom for Christmas, getting up on a little desk chair. We're not talking a ladder, nothing crazy, but literally a desk chair to hang up ornaments and feeling like the entire room was spinning. I'm a kid who would climb trees, jungle gyms, you name it, whatever. I did that, jumping off of them at the end. I mean, who didn't love to do that as a kid? But here I am as an adult feeling, I don't know if I can do this. And another big thing, I think, when I was working in the education field was every time I would go to put away library books, bending down from one shelf and standing up, my legs completely felt like they were asleep or numb or both. It was not a good feeling, and has pretty much been like that consistently. Other, things that kind of slowly crept their way into the mix were, pinching and pins and needles feelings in my fingers and toes. What else? Sex drive? What sex drive? I was in a relationship. It was slowly going south, and I was actually on my way out the door of said relationship, but yeah, no, what sex drive? And what do you mean we're supposed to be able to tell when we... Anyway, nerves. I'll just leave it at that. Nerves. Nerves were not working. I talked about the pinching in my hands and feet. There was a very notable change in penmanship. My ability to write, draw. I've always considered myself, not a professional artist by any means, but an artist at heart. At heart, someone who loves to paint and draw. And when it took as much of a toll as it did, Yeah, it was embarrassing, and it was honestly heartbreaking. Um, Fast forward more, and then, we start seeing things like mood changes and fatigue. Then I wasn't working in the education field anymore. Then I moved to a corporate job, and I tell you, every day there was a point where I would come home from work around 4:30 and nap because I was that tired. Like clockwork, I was yawning around 1, 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I thought that was normal. Everybody gets tired in the afternoons. And then it started happening at 11 and 10 a.m. And I'm going, okay, I'm clearly not getting enough sleep. But I was sleeping well over 10 hours a day. So that wasn't sitting right with me. That wasn't, that didn't feel right either. The vertigo, the fatigue, the emotional dysregulation, slowly just feeling more and more depressed and anxious. I mean, I went to neurologists, and they, pricked my feet, and I was like, yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Did the electrical nerve conductor test, which is not excruciating. Okay, it's painful. There's no way around it. That I feel like I earned my ice cream after that. That was not a fun time. But hey, we come out on the other side and we feel that much better about ourselves, right? We get answers, they work, okay? The testing, the nerves were functioning. Why I constantly had the pinching feeling and the tightness and the feeling like my feet were numb all the time, I did not know. I didn't have answers for that. And I could go on with all of these complaints or, ailments, if you will. I became more scattered. It turned to the point where I was, having to leave the house 2 or 3 times in the morning because I would forget something. And, yeah, definitely more emotional, irritable, all these things. Lack of drive for doing, things that I once loved and to this day still love. I just felt like I slowly deteriorated into a husk. A shell of who I was before this car accident, which is the only major point in my life that I can trace all of this back to. And then, a month ago, I had a procedure done. I had been having, on top of all of these things, I was having ear pain. I was having migraines. Like, I'm talking sinus headaches to where it was like pressure on one or both sides of my face. Saw an ENT a couple of times, did a round of antibiotics. I thought I might have had an infection. They thought so, try these to rule it out. Pain didn't go away. One CAT scan later revealed that I had a deviated septum and a cyst the size of a nickel and 2 bone spurs that had been growing inside my nose. How many years? I have no clue. I did get my septum pierced when I was 19, 20, somewhere around that age. I took it out maybe a few years after getting, I didn't have it very long, but I didn't know if maybe my septum was already deviated from genetics, because I know my mom and sister both had theirs surgically corrected. And here I am thinking, okay, well, if mine was already wonky genetic wise, and then I went and pierced it with a retainer that I could flip up and down, like shaped like a little staple, that might have been traumatic for my nose. But again, the car accident, getting rear-ended, that's pretty much when all of these things started showing up. So who's to say? I do know that the breath that you're able to take in, your nose and all that stuff, can be indirectly affected by your spine and that sort of thing. So I don't know what the connection is yet. All I know is that I've been dealing with these issues for years, to the point where, I kid you not, I have not wanted to do anything rash. There definitely were a couple of, dark points in the beginning of this journey that I felt really just like, what is even the point? Who am I anymore? I can't remember a paragraph that I read 2 or 3 days ago with the same clarity like I used to. I go to a dressing room in a store and suddenly I'm looking at the shirt I'm wearing, and for instance, if it's of an anime, I can see 2 of that character on my shirt. I can see 2 outlines of my necklaces I'm wearing. So I've got double vision. Yay. No. But I don't know what the cause for all of this is. I do know that since I got my own septum surgically corrected the end of, what is it now, 2 months ago, I noticed a significant change in breathing for the first few weeks. A couple weeks ago, I was laying on the floor, did that maneuver where you lift up one knee, lay it down, and turn your head the opposite way with your arm. Both sides. Got such a good pop out of my back that I went to, a doctor, a naturopath I've been seeing, and she said, I have never seen your back look this straight before. And it felt like everything was like 180 to 90% better. Energy levels, penmanship, feeling of numbness in my feet, gone. Fatigue, I mentioned. Pain, no back pain, nothing. And I'm sitting here going, okay, maybe the deviated septum was to blame for all of these issues, because if I had the amount of bone spurs and the cyst that I had, maybe I wasn't getting enough oxygen to my blood. And that's the only other big thing I want to mention that I didn't in the beginning, is that my veins have always been really, 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 not always, since the car accident, since maybe the past two or 3 years, have been just dark blue. Every time I'd go get blood drawn, people would say, oh, you have really nice veins. And I'd say, oh, thanks. I don't know why. I don't know why they're always so dark. I was thirsty all the time. That's another thing I didn't mention. On top of the fatigue, I was going to the bathroom constantly, drinking water all the time. And for what it's worth, with respect to the, curvature of my spine or what have you, my uterus, who knows what, I was only peeing a little bit. So I was going to the bathroom constantly, but I never felt like I fully emptied my bladder. An ultrasound proved that I was not fully emptying it. But that is another benefit that I felt after this one good pop of my back. I could go to the bathroom and feel like a normal, steady flow of pee. I could pee normally. That wasn't happening for, gosh, that was probably for as long as the veins have been showing. But yeah, like I said, they don't look as dark. I mean, they're still pretty dark underneath, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, something isn't right. And I don't know if it's something with my spine or my neck, but depending on how I'm stretching, laying on the floor to kind of correct whatever I did wrong, because I must have done something wrong. I went from doing the really good pop and feeling everything improving to doing it again recently. Sorry about that. To doing it again recently, I'm talking like the past week or couple of days, and feeling just so much pain in the upper half and my neck that, okay, the nerves that started working down there that I couldn't feel before went back to not working. That's not good. I don't like that. The pinchy tightness in my fingers and toes, that came back. And I'm just sitting here going, when the heck am I? Why can't I figure this out? I'm already 7 or 8 years in this chunk of my life that I'm not going to get back. And, you know, I see performers like pop artists, you know, musicians, whatever, and they're in the best shape of their lives, and I'd like to be able to do that. I mean, I'm no Lindsey Sterling, but I would absolutely love to, A, look like she does, but B, be able to bend my back the way she does and to dance and move. I used to dance. I did ballet and figure skating for, you know, a big amount of my childhood. And that was one of the things, like with my veins being so noticeable, the first time I tried getting on the ice after this accident, pain in the ears, sick feeling, and, you know, feet just felt like they were swelling. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't feel like blood is circulating the way it's meant to. And I don't know if that's from my back or my nose and lack of ability to breathe enough oxygen into my blood. Who knows what, but this has just been the hardest, scariest part of my life, because the culprit is silent. It's not, you know, I mean, I am getting a colonoscopy for my first ever one, because my mom was diagnosed with like stage 4 when I was in high school. But unless it's that, I don't want to say that. I doubt the C word would have anything to do with the neurological stuff. But I don't know what the heck is going on. And for anyone out there who is also dealing with a chronic illness of some kind that they can't find a name for, I mean, I went through the list. I thought I had POTS for the longest time too, because I'd look at my heart rate and see it skyrocket depending on if I was walking up and down my stairs or just trying to keep up with someone in a parking lot. And I don't really believe that that's what I have now that I know how little I was able to breathe. But you get what I mean. The list goes on. There's literally so many chronic illnesses out there, and I don't want to be quick to label myself, but I do want to be quick to go, aha, it is the back, or it is the whatever. I want to find an answer. And I think that's part of, you know, us as humans, that we just want to fix things and we want to, get back to normal. But I don't think I can, no one can get back, go back in time to like the exact same, maybe you can. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we can 100% just put ourselves back into the exact same like body size, clothes size, mental state, whatever that we were like a decade ago. Obviously, we grow and change as people. We evolve. We learn, from relationships, experiences, that sort of thing. So I know I can't go back to that. But I would like to be able to just go, get back into my my passions, my art, my, auditioning and all of that stuff. Anything that has been impeded by the physical ailments that I've described. I kid you not, feeling like I am out of breath and like my feet are literal sandbags when I walk around. That has been the norm these past 7 years. Only these past couple of months, since I've had my septum corrected and done that one really good stretch, have I felt this level of relief. And now, all because I did one wrong stretch, am I starting to feel like, well, I gotta figure this out, because I want to keep feeling the relief. I want it to keep, getting better. And hey, sorry that this is so long and winded, but hey, who doesn't want to get a sense of normal back? And part of me doesn't want to admit this, but if I'm not able to get that back, that pain-free, life and existence that I knew before this accident, then I just have to figure out what a new sense of normal is and what that looks like. And yeah, that's, sorry, I can't stand it when mascara is touching my eyelashes like that. I just have to figure out what that new sense of normal will look like. And God, I really hope that I can stay as optimistic about this as I'm telling myself I need to be. If you, hear this and go, oh girl, that's totally your right tibia, that's your neck, that's your this, I mean, feel free. I'm not gonna, tell anyone they're wrong for their thoughts, but if you're going through something similar and want to offer an encouraging word, or maybe someone else who's going through something similar and you want to share this with them, by all means. I would love nothing more than to connect with people who can, relate to this. And yeah, just hear someone say that it's gonna be okay. We're all rooting for you. We're all rooting for each other. We're all in this together, as they say. Yeah. I think, part of me is also really, really hesitant about speaking about this, because I know that someone is always going to have it worse than I do. But I cannot deny, up until the septum surgery and the relief I have temporarily felt these past 7 years have been horrible. Well, sorry that this is so long. If you stuck around this long, you are just an exemplary human being with a whole lot of patience. And I hope everything is going well for you. And I hope that if you're going through something similar, you know that I believe in you, and I know you can get back to feeling better. Close enough. I mean, yeah. I'll shut up. Okay. Until next time. Bye.